there are certain things that women want men to believe about women. And there's certain expectations that society has created about how men should behave around women. But if you fall for this and you believe these things, then you're Number 1 is gender roles. So most people would like to believe that in a relationship, everything is 50-50, and the man and the woman, they always need to be investing equally into the relationship, right? Well, that's wrong actually for many different reasons, but there's one reason above all others that you need to be aware of. So at the beginning of the dating phase, typically the man is very interested in having with the woman, and maybe she is as well, but it's always the woman's job to decide when that happens. Like every girl in the back of her head is pretty aware that the guy she's talking to is interested in doing that with her. She knows. And the interesting thing is that as soon as the woman allows that to happen, there's a very interesting shift that happens in the relationship. Like up until that moment, the guy has basically been trying to prove himself to her. He's been pursuing her. She's allowed that to happen. And then after that, it's almost like the reverse begins to happen. And I'm sure most of you have experienced this, that after you've hooked up with the girl, she starts to become a little bit more clingy. She starts to text you more. She wants to hang out more, right? And that is because women are fundamentally wired to want that safety and security of having a male partner who is dedicated just to them, right? They want that deep down. Men, on the other hand, a lot of times after the hookup happens, we lose a bit of interest and we want to distance ourselves, right? We really value the sex. Women really value the relationship and the commitment. They have the power and they get to decide when things go down in the bedroom, but after that, we have the power and we get to decide when the commitment happens or if it doesn't happen. And a lot of guys completely fuck this up, and after they hook up with the girl, they start getting really needy. They want to see the girl more, hang out with her more,
because oh my god, this girl who I like, she likes me too, and we need to be together all the time.
And I know it seems like, wait, so I shouldn't hang out with her after I hook up with her? That seems kind of messed up, bro. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is the same way we don't respect a girl that much who immediately spreads her legs and makes that process really easy, a girl's not going to respect a man who immediately is available for commitment and makes that process easy. It's always going to be our job to chase the girl and pursue the girl up front. But after that, you need to allow the girl to have the fun of chasing and pursuing you and trying to lock you down. Now, just to be clear, after you're intimate with a girl for the first time, I do think you should, at the very least, send her a text the next day that says, hey, I had fun last night. Hope your day's going well. Or something basic like that to give her the security. But then chill. Don't rush to set up the next date. Keep it to 1 or 2 hangouts per week for the first couple months, because then she's going to value the commitment and value the relationship a lot more when she eventually earns it. Because that is simple human nature. People value things that we have to work hard for. If something's more expensive, it's more valuable, right? And just to be clear, women will always bring up this conversation when they're ready. You know, they're gonna start to ask you, what are we? Are you seeing other people? Where are we headed? And at that point, you can start to think and start to consider, do you want to make that commitment to her? Now, real quick, I know some of y'all are watching this and thinking, but bro, I can't even get past like the first 2 dates. Maybe you're struggling even to get an attractive girl out on that first date. It can be frustrating, it can be painful, and I just wanna let you know that I am here to help with my Beast Dating Coaching Program.
My dating life before the program, I had very few dates. I didn't have interactions in real life very often. Quite quickly, I started having at least 1 date a week.
So before I joined the program, my dating life was pretty non-existent. I didn't know how to talk to girls, how to text girls. The 3rd week in, I had 3 dates, 2 of them on the same day at the same coffee shop, which is pretty funny.
Over the past few years, we've helped hundreds of men just like this achieve the dating life that they've always wanted. Basically, the way it works is the guys in the program get access to 5 live video coaching calls every single week with myself and the other coaches. That way we can help them personally work past whatever obstacles they're facing so they can eventually get to the point that they're consistently meeting and dating the types of women they really want. And also when they join the program, they become part of a brotherhood of men who are all working together to level up not just their dating lives, but their entire lives. And when you're seeing the guys next to you on your left and right getting those wins each week, that can be extremely motivating. And the good news is right now we're looking for a few more motivated guys to bring on board. So if this sounds like it could be helpful to your situation, just go to beastcoaching.com or click that first link in description to learn more, see more testimonials, and apply now. All right, number 2, trees gonna tree. So let me ask you, what is a tree? Well, they usually grow out in the forest, right? They got roots, they got branches, they got leaves on them. Now, let me tell you something you probably didn't know about trees. They are never going to grow wings and fly away. They're never gonna become a police officer. They're never gonna argue with you about Donald Trump. No, it's a fucking tree, bro. And guess what? People We're just like trees. You know, for example, I have a friend who always flakes on plans at the last minute. He'll text me and be like, hey bro, let's work out tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Cool? And then I'll wake up, look at my Instagram story, and he's already worked out at like 6 a.m. Or I know this girl who always ends up in these toxic relationships, and then she's ignoring the advice that everyone's giving her. Eventually it ends, and then she ends up with the next guy who's also toxic. And that's why I have a saying: you cannot expect a tree not to be a tree. People have certain tendencies, and 9 out of 10 times they're going to repeat those same tendencies. So if you're standing around just hoping that they're gonna change or hoping they're gonna be different this time, well, guess what? You're gonna be the loser every time. And when it comes to women and it comes to dating, this is super crucial to understand. So let's say you're texting a girl and then she flakes on the first date. Well, guess what? She is a tree, and she's probably going to repeat that and flake on the second date, so you should save your time. Or maybe you met this girl and she is super hot, but she's a boss babe and she's super aggressive about how she doesn't need a man, and you're hoping that, you know, maybe she'll change and she'll kind of calm down about that. She's a tree, bro. It's not gonna happen. That's who she is. Or maybe you met a girl who had a boyfriend, but she still hung out with you, and then eventually you started dating her. Guess what? She is a tree, and while you're dating her, she's gonna be a tree and she's gonna start talking to the next guy. The point is that people don't change. I do think people evolve, which would mean basically changing slowly over time, but it's not gonna be like from this week to next week. So the moral of the story is that yes, you know, small things can be changed. Like maybe she shows up 5 or 10 minutes late, not a big deal. Maybe she's not going to the gym yet. You know, over time you could get her to buy in and start doing that. But for the most part, people will be who they have always been. And the sooner you realize this, the sooner you're gonna save yourself a lot of pain, frustration, and just anger in the dating process. Number 3 is double standards.
You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much.
Now, we've all seen videos of girls complaining about this shit, and there's some truth here, right? Like, we do want girls to dress attractively or we won't be interested in them, but if they dress too or they expose too much, then that's slutty and we're not interested. But also, that's not like a bad thing. That's just a fact of life. You know, baseball, for example, there's a little invisible square that if the pitcher throws the ball through that square, it's a strike, but if it goes too far to the left, it's a ball. For you people who don't know baseball, that's a bad thing. If it goes too far to the right, that's also a ball. So I always hate when people try and use it as like a gotcha moment. Oh, I got you. It's a double standard. It's like, sure, but that's just a fact of life. A lot of women complain that if they're in a position of authority, everyone thinks that they're a bitch. And guess what? I'm sure you're gonna have to say things differently as a woman boss versus a man boss to avoid that happening, but that's just how life is. And to be fair, there's also plenty of double standards that men face. For example, women want men to be masculine, but not too masculine, or that's misogynistic. They do not want to submit to a man, but you bet your ass that if we don't take the lead, approach them, and set up the first date, they're not showing up. If a girl sets a boundary, it is empowering. You go, girl. But if a guy does it, it's controlling. We all saw this with Jonah Hill, who sent these text messages to his ex about the things that were okay with him and not okay with him in the relationship, and people came down on him hard for being a controlling misogynist. If the girl wants to be the breadwinner and make the money, you go, girl, empowering. But if a guy wants to make the money and have a traditional wife, then he's trying to set women back 500 years or something. You know, girls will say, don't approach me in the streets, that's creepy. But also, I don't like using dating apps. How the fuck am I supposed to meet you then? And here's the point I'm getting to with all of this. All of this shit is kind of just outside noise, you know, cultural trends, popular topics to discuss. But at the end of the day, the facts are still the facts. And I promise you, women still respond to a strong masculine frame, a man who leads the way. Like, even if they would sit there and argue with you, and this has happened with me in past relationships where like a girl would argue with me about these maybe more extreme feminist views, and I got frustrated, but then I realized, wait, yeah, if I bring it up and it's consciously on her mind, she's gonna argue about it with me. But if I just lead the way and behave masculinely and control that frame, she actually responds well. So even if she doesn't want to believe that that's what she wants, kind of is actually what she wants. Actions speak louder than the words is basically what I'm saying. And don't get swept away in all of the different, you know, cultural wars that are happening, thinking that you have to change how you operate. People still respond to like the same base instincts at the end of the day. Women still want to feel like the princess in distress who gets saved by the handsome prince, and they live happily ever after. They won't tell you that explicitly, but trust me and trust your own experiences in life. That's how it still works. Now, that being said, it's important to present yourself as a high status man because that's what all women are gonna react positively to. So that's why I'd recommend you watch this video next, 3 things that make a man look high status. And if you're new to the channel, click down there to subscribe as I drop 2 new videos every single week and you don't wanna miss them. I will talk to you in the next video. Stay beastly.